So hello and welcome back to a Forge modding tutorial series, and today we are going to make the basic structure of our mods. So this is a basic structure that you will use for each mod, or you can use for each mod. Um, there's some things you need, and that is a package first of all. So we are going to make a package that's a normal Java package. If you're familiar with that, just make a package. You can name that. The normal naming convention is to use your website URL. So I will probably go. Yeah, I don't know. I'll go. So I will go for net.HyCraftHD.tutorial mod. So that's the URL that HyCraft used. Hit enter and you get the package. And we first of all need to make a class. That is the mod class. I call that tutorial mod. Keep in mind that this is camel case, so Pascal case, written in Pascal case. That means uppercase letter at start, and each new word is separated with an uppercase letter. So that is Pascal case. First of all, we need an annotation to declare. No, not there. An annotation to declare that this class is actually a mod. And for that, we need to write @mod. @is the key char for annotation, and if you press Ctrl and spacebar, you will automatically get the imports and stuff like that. So keep that in mind. We need to actually put in our mod ID here. So we could just put in a string with tutorial mod, but we won't do this because we probably need our mod ID more often, and instead of typing it all the time, we just make a variable for that. We make a public static final variable for that and call that mod ID. So that, and now we can use just the mod ID here with, of course, so tutorial mod.modID in here, and this will automatically put it in here. So we got our basic class finished, and now we are going to take a look at this folder, that is the resource folder. What is pretty important is that a thing called meta information. So meta inf, that is another word for meta information, and the mods Tumblr, that is a Tumblr is a language. There is a open source GitHub repository where the language is explained and stuff like that, but it is pretty simple. It is just a declaration format which declares the mod in that case. So Tumblr itself is used for other things too, but in that case it just declares your mod. This is pretty messy, and it looks pretty messy. But we'll sort that out in a minute. So first of all, everything you see here with an hashtag or a hash in front of it is basically a comment. So you don't need that. It is just a comment. I will delete that, and therefore we take a look at the things you actually need. So that's basically what you need. You need to declare the mod loader. That is Java FML, because we're doing a Java mod. I think there is a Ruby implementation too or something, but we're doing that in Java. The loader version, which is 28, because we're using 1.14 Minecraft, and you can see that in the reference library. So that is 20 28, you see that? And that is the loader version. Now you can implement a issue tracker URL if you should have an issue tracker. That is fully optional, so you don't need that. You can put in a display URL, so that is the URL that is actually displayed if you look into a mod's description. So if you want to point your to your website, then you can link it there. And after that, there is authors. You can put in author, and if you want to put in more than one, just type in a comma, then the second author. In that case, I'm the second author, and the first is Jojo. So that's pretty much it for the first part. Now we can declare our mods. So you can declare multiple mods, but we will go for one. And you need to put in the mod ID here. So keep in mind, this needs to be exactly the same mod ID as you put in here, because otherwise it will crash. So this data, this file is pretty important because the Forge mod loader actually goes to this specific file in the jar file and searches for it, and then it goes for the mod ID and it loads the specific mod. After that, you have a version. You can put in a version number here, but I'd recommend to leave it at default settings, because the version, this looks a bit cryptic, but what it actually does is it takes the version of the output file and puts it in here. So if you export your build, this will automatically change the version each time you build, basically, if you configure that in your build script and stuff, but we'll get to that another time. Then you have a display name that is pretty self-explanatory. That is basically the name that is shown. You got a description, you put in a description there, and then it gets, I don't know, I dislike the file format, to be honest, because it is strange to watch actually. So these are sections, I guess, and you need to declare dependencies. So every dependency of your mod needs to be declared by dependency dot and then your mod ID. And what you have to declare as dependency is Forge itself and Minecraft. So you need to actually say that your mod depends on Forge and Minecraft. I don't know why they choose that structure for the Tumblr file specifications, but it is certainly that way. And for each dependency, you got a mod ID, so you need to define the mod ID of the mod you want to include as dependency. Mandatory, I think mandatory is it always required or just optional requirement? So it can be included, but it does not like need to be included. And you get a version range, so that's actually the version range. So the version of the Forge or of Minecraft, of whatever. Then there is a ordering, so how it needs to be ordered. In that case, there is no ordering because Forge is always going to be loaded first. Then there is site, so if you want to, for example, just make a client-sided mod, you can do it by just including it on the client side. And for example, server side, so that is basically on which side of the network your mod runs. Yeah, and that's for you can basically go copy that and just change the author, the URL, and basically the names and the mod ID. Everything else stays pretty much the same. You can download this from our GitHub site, of course, so you can go to GitHub and look it up there if you don't remember exactly. So that's pretty much it for the Tumblr file. Now we need to make another package, or we don't need, but I certainly recommend you do another package. We call that init, so that is for everything that initializes things. That's why I call it init. And for initialization, we need actually two classes for items, one, and for blocks. Pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. First of all, we are going to make items, so tutorial mod items. So why do we need these initialization classes? That is because you need to register your item, and this is done via an event. So there is a event fired by Forge, and it calls every event handler, which has a register event. So we will first of all declare this as a event. So we will subscribe our class to the event handler. We will just say, hey, please use this class as a event class, and every event that you notice from this class, just invoke the method if it should be fired. So that is basically it. And for that we need the event bus subscriber. So you can hit ctrl and space again. And we need to define two things. First of all, the mod ID. And the good thing is we have declared our mod ID at our tutorial mod class. So we can just use that. And then we need to define the bus, which we will subscribe to. So the buses are different lanes of, or different categories of firing. So you can just fire one in the Minecraft section, I think, is there, and in the mod sections. And we will use, okay, bus event bus subscriber. Yes, exactly that. Press enter. And you can use either Forge or mod, but we will use mod. That's it, pretty much. Now, this is at the mod category or bus, and it knows our mod ID, and yeah, it is actually subscribed to the event handler. Now we need to actually subscribe the events we will use to the event handler. For that we will make a method, a static method, which is indeed public, and we call that register. And the event we will get in as parameter, so that is a normal function parameter, is a register event. There we go. And we need to put in a iForge registry entry, and that is basically an item. So every item is also an iForge registry entry. There we go. We call that we call that event. There we go. After that, we will need another annotation that is subscribe event. There we go. At subscribe event, to actually say, okay, look, event bus, this is a method that contains an event, and every time an event gets fired, you will execute this method. So every time an items are registered, this method is fired. So invoked, basically, it is invoked, the method. But we will get to that later in another video when we do items. And the same, we will do the same for blocks, but there is a minor difference between the items and blocks thingy. So the difference is that we will first of all put two methods in here, two register methods. The first is just register, and we will put a register event in here too, but not for items but for blocks. So that stays pretty much the same. Block, Minecraft block, event. There we go. Don't forget the annotation at subscribe event. And that's pretty much it, but we need a second method because every block has also a item attached to it, or better to say, an item that has the block attached to it. These are pretty much these are so-called item blocks, and they are used for placement and stuff like that. So register item blocks, we will call that method like that, and that we will put in here another register event, but this time again for items, and we call that parameter also event. And don't forget the subscribe event. There we go. So that's pretty much it for our basic mod structure. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video, and have a good time. Cheers.